And joining us once again, this time on a Wednesday, we'd just like to shake it up a little bit, Dr. Barry Taylor. Good afternoon.
Good.
How are you today?
Thanks for having me on. I'm well. I'm good.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a very good thing in these times, for sure. And Dr. Taylor is the author of Love Your Body, Your Path to Transformation, Health, and Healing. And we are here today. We talk, a lot about vitamins and nutrition and minerals and that good stuff, and it's all great. But today, I think we're going to focus on something else, correct? We're going to talk about mental wellness today.
Mental health. Boy, are we being challenged in terms of our mindset? That's a code word, mindset. Like the default that allows us to think. It's not just the negative thoughts or the positive thoughts, but, what's our default? And, boy, are we all getting triggered and challenged, by what's going on outside?
We are. There's no question about it. It is, very, very challenging times for no question about it. And I guess your mindset and your mental health throughout this crisis makes a lot of difference.
Well, there's a lot of research. I've written out a ton of tips. We're not going to get through all of them, but if you speak to anybody, it's this whole thing is not only challenging. Who's been washing their hands as much as we all have been, right? Who's been wrapping scarves around or wearing masks? Although some parts of the world, they do it a lot. But we're all being, we're right on the edge of looking at what's really important. And this is one of those moments in life where we all can take a deep breath and realize how important connection is. Yeah? I mean, how important it is. I mean, it's not just being quarantined. It's not just being concerned about somebody close to us going to get this virus and are they going to make it through pretty easily. Tens, hundreds of thousands of people do recover from this. I know the news doesn't report it. We're all concerned about it being deadly, and it is. But so many people do get through this, Ken, quite easily, like a real bad flu. Mm-hmm. But it really it begs the issue of how important is it for us to connect? We connect outside to some higher power. If somebody's religious, they would say they connect to God. And if somebody's a little less religious but more of a naturalist, they might connect to sunrises and sunsets or trees or rocks or, just outer beauty, right? And then there's, how to connect to inside, different qualities within ourselves rather than just going through life, just being the way we were 4, 5, 6, 7 months ago. You just live your life, You're making money, you're not making money, you're being of service, you're not being of service, you're just going about your day. Now it's so, it's such a time. So I wrote down a couple of things. The title of our talk today, Ken, is Helping People Connect, because it's hampered, right? We're all kind of handcuffed somewhat by, not going to churches and not going to temple and not going to those places. I can't see you. I wish I was in the studio with you.
Yeah, I wish you were as well. I'm not even in the studio myself.
You're not even. Then I'd be alone. It would just be Jason and I, which would be a good thing as well because he's a great
just
guy
you and
too.
J-Dog. Yeah.
Yeah, but the point is this? It seems like such a simple word, quarantine or sheltering in place,
right?
And yet it really, it touches that part of ourselves, that, if you're a monk and you're a real practicing monk. And you're in a monastery, regardless of what persuasion and what order you're in, the monk is connecting to prophets and to Christ or Muhammad, or the monk is connecting to some higher power, and is trained to do that. I mean, here most of us householders, we're not monks. we just go about our lives. This takes such an effort to concentrate. What can we connect to on the outside? What can we connect to on the inside, given our routines are so upside down, inside out?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going in this. It will affect someone's mood. These talks you and I have been doing, not the one months ago, but the ones recently, for me, as I've been promoting them to my listeners so they get to love you like I do, like I love you, it is for people to feel more confident and more competent in this challenging time. Because the more we're just overcome and seduced by the fear, the more we're overcome and obsessed by watching the news, I say that's really not good for our physiology. So these are tips that some of them are really easy, but I think it's easy to forget because we're so focused on, well, can I go out, or the lines at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Okay.
In many ways, I think people are trying to connect, remotely more than before. I know a lot of entertainers are doing shows from home, for example. I know they've already had specials on TV about that, but some are just doing it on the internet. And I know some of the people we're close to here, like John Leahy and Nicole Knox Murphy, are doing shows from their home to try and get people's minds off what's taking place at this time. So, a lot of people are reaching out. That's why I'm doing the Facebook Live thing. So, you can see a different face if you want to. It's my face, but it's a different one anyway. So, but I think there's and people are like myself or and others reading to their grandchildren on FaceTime and that sort of thing. So people. I think this is going to change us forever. When we make it through this thing, Dr. Taylor, I think it's going to change all of us in many ways.
Right. So let's make that a tip for our listeners. Whereas there can be an overuse of the media and people watching too much TV and zoning out on Facebook and social media. That's a really good tip to encourage people to use Zoom or use Skype or use FaceTime or call people and make an effort to call those people in your life. Make an effort to send them a text. Just thinking of you, want to let you know you're in my prayers, whether you want to say something like, I'm sending you light or I'm sending you love, I'm holding you in my heart. Is there anything you need? Is there anything that you need my support in? That's a tip that really helps us. Because one of the things about us as human beings, some of us have it more in our wiring, some less, is the love of service and the love of giving and the love of helping and the love of contributing. I'm saying that might be kind of pandemic to all of us as human beings in the most positive sense. And there is something about kindness and about having someone to love, having somebody to care for, whether it's an intimate romantic partnership, whether it's not, whether it's just, how can I make a difference in somebody else's life? So I think what you're pointing out to is a great tip for somebody who might actually need to reach out to somebody and say, can I speak to you, rather than, what can I do for you? Would you be good enough to give me 5 minutes? And I'm not even asking you to be a therapist or give me advice. Would you just listen? And at the end of me speaking, would you say something like, I got it? This quality of life where people aren't necessarily wanting advice, but they really need to be heard. They just want to be seen. They want to be appreciated, and somebody can be what's called an empathetic listener or a committed listener, where they know their job is to not pontificate or give advice, but their job is to just listen with as big and as open a heart as you can. And that sometimes can be missing in this, topsy-turvy I usually did that with my workmates and I don't see them, or I usually did that with my family. And, tonight's first night Passover and Friday and Easter Sunday. And, a friend of mine said she was having a virtual Easter. People couldn't make the things they usually make. And looks like somebody's just going to have dessert for Easter.
Yeah. Well, that's okay too. I have people commenting on different things on Facebook when they see me, and normally I'm wearing some kind of a shirt that has a sports logo on it, and today I don't. I just have a regular, button-down, casual kind of shirt on, and I'm getting complaints from people like my friend Chad in Virginia saying, so boring today with my just my regular button-down shirt on.
I like
Sorry.
it.
Oh, Chad.
Sorry, Chad. Oh, J-Dog likes it. All right.
Okay. See, J-Dog sounds like he's a little more flexible than Chad.
I guess so. I guess that's what it comes down to.
Right.
I guess so. People are used to surprises every day, though. They want to see what team I'm going to have on each day.
Right. Well, but I'm going to go to the second tip that I've got written down here because you're leading me perfectly. First one was use social media and use different ways of connecting. So the second one is just because you're staying home a lot more and you're not going out for 2, 3, 4 days at a time, dress. Maybe you don't have to put a cocktail dress on. That wouldn't be you, Ken.
It wouldn't be me. I don't have any cocktail dresses in my closet.
J-Dog, how much money are we going to put up to see Ken in a cocktail dress? Well, that would light people's life up.
Would you like to start at Fort Knox?
Right. So the point is just to only wear your yoga sweats or, the shirt you've been wearing the last 3 or 4 days or the underwear or the whatever. I'm saying some of us really love clothes and really appreciate adorning the body and making the body beautiful by whatever. You and I don't put makeup on, I don't think, Ken, although if you do, let's talk about that off the show, not now. But men and women, there are some men and women that really put some time and energy and intention into what they're wearing. And they like to beautify their body, whatever their body looks like. And so there's something about the well-being at this time of not necessarily dressing up like you're going to a cocktail party and wearing something that makes you feel good. Now, we could talk a long time about this, but I won't, about the nature of color and how color can be used in healing. But let's just talk about people putting something on where they look in their closet, kind of the way you do when you go to a party or if you go to a lecture or you went to a play. And some people consciously do this all the time. Some people don't, which is, well, what would I feel good wearing today? And I pose that as a question that all of us might ask 2, 3, 4 times a week if you don't already. For some people, it's very much part of their life. But at this time, when you're going out so little, well, who's going to see me? Who am I dressing up for? Well, you're dressing up for yourself. You're going to, comb your hair and more than brush your teeth, and you're going to put something on that doesn't have to be a cocktail dress or a very expensive shirt or a very expensive sport jacket for us men, but would be something that vibrationally you have some association with about how you feel when you put it on. And I'd say that has its effect on our mental state and has its effect on our physical immune system in terms of how we feel physically.
It does. I mean, you have to stay in some form of a routine and do that sort of thing. I think that's good for our mental health as well. I think that's a great point.
Ken, I didn't send you my notes for this conversation. Every now and then I write notes when you and I have talks, but
yeah.
I love it. You're picking things up psychically. That's amazing. Yeah, that's the word.
I don't claim to be a psychic. I'm not a psychic.
You are. It's just, you can own your intuition. Psychic doesn't have to be like in the Matrix bending spoons. Psychic can just be an extraordinary way that you're connected, and you are, because so many people love you and you're such a great communicator. So another tip for mental well-being is for people to consider a routine, sticking to something about going to sleep, waking up, having some kind of schedule, even though you don't have to wake up and go to work and be at all the places and you're not going to the meetings in the evening. But there is something about the way our brains are wired that another tip for people is, if time is kind of just mushing all over the place because we've got no boundaries and no limitations, and you just get to make, what I'd say is make up a schedule. And without being rigid, make sure you're getting your 6, 7, 8 hours sleep. There are a lot of people, as I read things, that are needing a lot more sleep in the last weeks, month and a half, because they're so much more depressed.
Yeah.
So another tip would be is make sure you go out every single day, 10, 15, 20 minutes, just get some air. We're lucky enough here in the Northeast, depending on who listens to this call and where they're listening from, may not be an issue, but, we're probably not going to need to face sleet and ice and snowstorms. And if it's mid-40s or early 50s or wherever, just dress whatever you need. But there's something about the mind and oxygen. And another tip for people would be is get outside, and then the corollary to that tip is move. So those are two different tips. One is you don't have to move outside, but it'd be nice if you did some real good walking for 10, 15, 20 minutes. My great uncle, when I was a little boy, he fought in the Boer War, 1898. I remember him telling me, I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and he was very, very British. And he'd say, "Do you want to go with me?" I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going for my evening constitutional." I remember that so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, people probably don't go for their evening constitutionals, but first thing in the morning or midday or mid-evening, once, twice, get out for 5 or 10 minutes. If you want to make it a 20, 30-minute walk, fine. There's a way that everyone listening to this can manage this where you're not going to be walking with crowds. It's been nice recently, hasn't it, Ken? Just been gorgeous.
It has been beautiful. Yeah, the last couple of days have been wonderful to walk. Yes, indeed.
Stunning. Yeah, and where I am, there are people riding their bikes. I can't wait to get on my bike and ride. That's not motorcycle. That's a pedal bike. And wow, there are a lot of people on the streets and a lot of people walking. So one is oxygen, get outside. The second is move. And if you can't move outside and walk, then a mental tip would be is there are things on YouTube. There are things, there are apps. Have the listener text me or call me or email me. There are plenty of things one could do without having to do jumping jacks. I mean, I work with people who are infirm, and they have to do things in a chair.
Yeah.
But they move their body to get their upper arms or their hips or their legs, even if they have severe arthritis or back or neck. There are things people can do that have incredibly powerful effects on, see the word flexibility, right? So this isn't to say everybody with arthritis who's got some rigidity in their physical body. That's not saying everybody who has arthritis has mental rigidity. But you and I have been talking for a year or more, a couple of years, about the mind and body being quite interrelated, like two sides of the same hand. That doesn't mean everybody with a rigid body has rigid thinking. But you can affect the body by how you think, by your mindset, by how you deal with feelings. So the more one can be flexible and open and breathing, it'll open the physical body to be more flexible. So that's another thing that people can do is move inside or out.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, if you take a 15 to 30-minute walk every day or more, it's very invigorating. I mean, it really is. And, I mean, you can get very lethargic just hanging around the house or the apartment all day. It can lead to a lot of lethargy. And, and I think that in turn makes you feel depressed. I think that's depressing.
Exactly.
You got to get out and get some exercise for sure. I've been walking during this the last few weeks anyway, walking more than I usually do.
Good for you. Yeah.
No,
You're
thank you.
picking up what I'm putting down, bro. You got it. You got it.
Well,
You got it. Yeah. You feel down. I can't be with my workmates. I can't be with my sweetheart. I can't be with my friend. I can't see my mom as much as I want. I mean, people say different things, and then that makes people more lethargic, and the lethargic makes people more tired, and then they sleep more, and they're not looking at, okay, how do I stimulate myself? Here's another tip. Find something you want to learn. It could be Italian. Could be French. It could be, there's a run on puzzles, Ken. People are doing a lot of puzzles.
I know that. I'm not doing that, but I know that a lot of people are, for sure.
Yeah. It's an example of neuroplasticity, of how you get the brain to stay young. And at this time where people's goals are thwarted, here we have two major holidays in the Jewish and Christian religion, and it's usually a time of communion and people really connecting, and people are not going to work and they're not working on work goals, right? So there's all sorts of personal, professional goals that are being minimized that are really important. So the question would be is, can you find something that's not for minimal, that's not it's going to empower you in some way because you have some positive associations with, I've always wanted to do that. I wonder if I could start that project now, if I could start to read that now. And it doesn't have to be heavy, like learning French or Italian. It could be, wow, I really want to read that new Dan Brown novel. If you haven't read it, Ken, it's fabulous.
Is it? Okay, good. New Hampshire's own Dan Brown, I might add.
It's not so new anymore, boy. Can you hook me up so I can meet the guy?
I wish I could meet the guy.
Oh, the two of us should. But we'll do that when we find elderberry wine.
There you go. It might be easier to get Dan Brown than elderberry wine.
Right.
That's all right. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break right here, Dr. Taylor. So just, get up, move around, have some activity during this break. I am. And we'll take a break. If you have any questions, comments, views, ideas, opinions for Dr. Barry Taylor, I'm going to hold up your book to our folks watching on my Facebook page. There it is. It's Love Your Body, Your Path to Transformation, Health, and Healing. It's Dr. Barry Taylor with us, and we will take a quick break at 1:29. It's Kale and Company, 107.7 The Pulse, and News Talk 98.1 WTSN. We're chatting with Dr. Barry Taylor, and if you would like to chime in and tell us how you're dealing with being at home for extended periods of time, at least a lot longer than most of us are accustomed to, give us a call, 866-823-1077. And Dr. Taylor has been kind enough to put together a list of tips for our wellness and helping people connect and the mindset that we're in these days. I have to think, you talked about sleep, I have to think a lot of people are getting more sleep these days than they ever have.
Yes, too much.
Too much.
And for some people, and it'd be interesting to ask those people who are needing a lot of sleep if they're not working and they're needing more sleep because they're so depressed about not earning money or they're scared. They are working, but people in universities, my brother, many other people who are still working in hospitals are having to use computer programs in ways that they never thought they would need to teach and do what they are doing from a distance, and that can be very stressful. I wonder if some of the people who are sleeping more are because they're not exercising. They haven't made adjustments in terms of eating more fresh foods. They're kind of just eating maybe whatever they were eating. They're not taking any extra B vitamins or any extra anything for all of the stress. So
I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true, and I think it's a form, I guess, of escape for some people, sleeping extra hours and so on, and so they don't have to deal with others, and perhaps contract the coronavirus. And maybe that's one one rationale. And then, but if you get too much sleep, if you're sleeping a lot during the day or taking naps and that sort of thing, then you're going to have the tendency, I think, when you go to sleep at night to wake up and be not be able to get to sleep, stare at the ceiling for hours on end and just ponder what's going to happen, and and think about the situation more than you probably should.
Yes. So if you're sick, or your body is recovering from a wound or surgery or from some tissue need of repair, then our body in all of its wisdom and the way we're designed will shut down, and the brain will allow you to need extra sleep. And so, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of power naps, we would call them a couple of decades ago.
Yeah.
But that's different. You and I are talking about somebody kind of indulging in their lethargy, somebody kind of indulging in they don't have practices, they're not setting goals. This is all, truth be told, very understandably overwhelming. And they're not making the necessary physical adjustments you and I have talked about in other shows. And in what we're talking about today, maybe they're not exercising or walking. Maybe they're not getting enough air. Maybe they haven't created some personal or professional goals or family goals or time for projects. Wow, I really want to clean that room, or I want to do that carpentry, or I want to sew that, finish that. I mean, there are, lots of incompletions that most all of us have in life that we put aside because life gets busy. And some people are sleeping and they're not focusing. Another reason that people might be sleeping too much is, understandably, no judgment here, this is a very frustrating time for many of us. I mean, this is a time where many of us are very thwarted. We're very unfulfilled. Lots of expectations of travel or fun or what we, theater, music, walking, skiing, just biking. Think of all the kinds of ways that you and I like to have fun, alone or together.
Right.
It's a lot to take on. And maybe
going
people
to
are
sporting
thinking,
events.
Yeah. Sporting events.
Yeah.
I want to go back 25, 30 years. Give me the year. What year do I have to go back to hear you be more of a announcer for the Red Sox? How many years do I have to go back?
Actually, what we're doing on our stations on the Pulse and News Talk 98.1 WTSN, we're carrying games from the Red Sox radio network from the 2018 postseason. So we have baseball every weeknight for a while anyway from the Red Sox radio network, and it's become very popular.
Listen, that I will still be satisfied because you're not calling the color. I want to talk about when can I hear you. I want to hear Ken Kale's baritone, fabulous voice call the play-by-play, or at least call the colors, not play-by-play.
I have to go back and listen to some of my Monarchs play-by-play from years gone by, or Lowell Spinner's play-by-play.
And one could say respectfully, we'd have to go back to another century. Yeah.
Maybe not that far back. No. 2 or 3 years ago.
So let's go back. First of all, I want to say thank you. If anybody wants the list, the PDF of the things that I've been talking about, I've got it in a list. If you want to send it to Dr. Barry at drbarrytaylor.com, I'll be happy to, connect with you and send you this list that I've been noodling, thinking about. What do we need from one another to all? And there's a lot of great things that we do hear about. But as I've been harping and just going over, I hope I've not been beating a dead horse into the ground. There's so much negativity. There's such a bias to look at the data. And certainly there is some pretty hard to listen to data. But when you listen to the news, where is the positive stuff, right? I mean, where is how many people, have come down with it and are recovered and they're fine now? I mean,
exactly.
I know lots of people, and I also know some horror stories of people who died because they went to volunteer at a hospital and they were told they couldn't wear a mask, and now that person's dead. Oh, my God. Terrible stuff. So that would be an example of another tip, Ken. I think we need to give one another a whole larger range of space and give more people the benefit of the doubt, give them a much wider berth, because we all, to some degree, have been cooped up. Some of us are really being tested, some of our weakest, shortest suits are coming out in terms of being irritable or maybe more critical or maybe more short. Some of us are just being really pressed into ways we can be creative and feel inspired. And, wow, I'm not feeling inspired.
Yeah.
What can inspire me? But I think the point is, and thank you so much, you often love my book, the chapter in my second half of my book on forgiveness is that this could be a time where we not only recalibrate and relook at how important, start of the show, connecting to ourselves, connecting to a higher power, a God, connecting to the wisdom of prophets, connecting to the people who've really loved and nurtured and cheered us on in life, connected to nature. We could really start to really take an inventory of, what are we missing connecting to, and what can we connect to feel fulfilled. The other is that for some people, this could be another opportunity to forgive more and to give other people in our life who are really being tested. Well, maybe that's everyone can, but not everybody's, rising to that challenge in the same way. And a mental something for us is to be careful, maybe take things less personally. Maybe take things like, well, I need to just maybe, just give this person a little bit before I come back at them, because they're having a really hard time. They haven't seen their mother or their grandchild.
Sure.
And that would help people. That would help people.
Yep.
The other tip is to find some kind of inner retreat space.
Right.
If meditation is too much of a spiritual term, I would use a term like find an inner sanctuary, where you can open up the right part of your brain, and maybe it is the cathedral or the church that you've gone to as a child or that you find comfort in now. Maybe it is a ledge on a mountaintop of a hike that you like to go to. But keep watering, keep fertilizing that in your right brain through imaging and visualizing, and dip into that 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes a day. Don't do it for so long that you start wandering and get tired, but create an internal retreat state. If somebody's very religious, then maybe reading the Bible might help. If somebody's less religious, then looking at a painting or looking at something beautiful. It could be cuddling and looking into the eyes of their dog, or it could be cuddling and looking into the eyes of their beloved, or people have pictures of prophets or, people on the wall. Things that at this time could help calm, quieten, still the mind so we can be better observers. It's kind of key to the Love Your Body program, the 21-day healing program that I've been doing for many years.
Yep.
We got one starting in a couple of weeks. But people on their own can just carve out 3, 4, 5 minutes and create to find your own inner retreat space. It's really at a premium.
And I hope people are practicing mindfulness, at this time, whether it be through meditation, as you talked about, prayer, yoga. There's many different ways you can go. Exercise could be included in that as well, I guess. But instead of ruminating about what is taking place, I know it's tough to get our minds off this crisis, but you might discover things that pique your interest that you never thought might pique your interest, and gain new hobbies. You might read more. You might discover things that you like. In life that you never thought you would experience or never even thought you would sample. I mean, this is a period where, although we are very concerned about what's going on, to expand your horizons a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think so.
I agree that I don't think we need to keep our eye off the crisis. I don't think the crisis is going away too soon. I think there is going to be, even after numbers change, and the numbers will change, they're not going to stay the same. There's going to be, well, am I going to go back to that office space and rent that office, or am I going to continue to do things from my home? And it's not that bad for those people that can. Obviously, restaurants and movies and plays and concerts and all sorts of things are going to go out, because now one of the challenges for our mental space is how to have fun. And that would be another, press yourself into, how can you have fun? But I think you're right that this could be for people an extraordinary opportunity to look at how to be more playful. What could I be learning? What have I turned my back on and said, I just don't have the time for that. Well, now you have more time than you know what to do with. And
it's very true.
How can you use it? I remember when I was starting to meditate, I was 18, 20 years old. I was that young at one point, and I remember saying to a meditation teacher, I said, I'm feeling really bored. And I remember him saying to me something. It was really Greek, Arabic. It was like Martian. What just came out of this man's mouth? He said to me, boredom is a very, very high state if you could accept it.
Okay.
Yeah. Your laughter, because, you're a young man with a lot of wisdom, you get it. But you try to tell it to a 20, 30, 40-year-old, and all they want to do is fix, stop, or get out of the boredom. He was saying is if you could accept boredom, wow, that's very high. I totally didn't get it till many years later.
Yeah.
So here we are. There's a lot for us to embrace and accept, and it's. I can't admonish people with a finger and say stop doing that, because Ken, that doesn't work. It's like, be compassionate with yourself. Start to observe what you're pushing away. Start to observe what you're resisting. Resistance causes persistence. Start to really engage with that which you think is impossible. I'm listening to people in their language. I pick them up, hey, how you doing? And somebody says to me, how do you think I'm doing in this crazy time? It's like, oh, my God, call my secretary. This person needs an appointment with me.
Yeah. I wonder if people have a tendency during this period to spoil themselves a little bit too much. I'm talking about basically in a dietary sort of way, trying to get through this thing as best they can and spoiling themselves with.
What are you talking about? Talk to me, Ken. How are they? I mean, like ice cream, or they're having pizza delivered, or how are they spoiling themselves?
Well, all of the above. I think people might be having a tendency to, they have more time on their hands. They may not have more money on their hands in many cases, but they have more time and just pig out on junk food a little bit too much. I think there's a tendency to do that when you have more time on your hands.
Ken, should we do a dessert? Ken, should we do a short show or a half show on healthy indulgences? Desserts
yes. Oh, absolutely.
Desserts that would be like, oh my God, this is so good. Can I have more? Absolutely. This is really good for you. We could fold in the flavonoids and the different colors. And it's like it gives some people some tips on healthy desserts that don't leave you feeling guilty.
I like it. I like it very much. I do. Okay. I do. The other thing is too, I think, in all honesty, I think people are drinking more right now. And I'm not talking about water or soda. I'm talking about alcohol consumption going up right now. That's what I hear. I hear this business at the state liquor stores in New Hampshire is up like 60% from this time last year. 60%.
Is that why we can't find any elderberry wine? They've all bought it out?
That's probably the reason that they're all out of elderberry wine.
Wow. A lot of, alcohol, sleep, numbing out, not sleep, but just disassociating, like just being kind of numb. Sugar indulgences, like eating till you're numb. You know, you don't want to make love and you don't want to cuddle and you don't want to kiss too much because, you know, I just had enough ice cream and chocolate cake and enough sugar to, I kind of feel bloated. So you'll forgive me if I pass on sex and some romance tonight. You know, those are all pretty common. Eating, alcohol, sleep. We've covered a number of things of how normal people deal with stress. You know, some people over-exercise. Some people become meditation junkies. You know, how can we live so we're a little bit more balanced? Maybe it's not about never having a good beer or wine, unless somebody chooses never to have it, and that's their option. But you're absolutely right. That would be a sign of how overwhelmed and how probably, sorry, I don't want to be judgmental, but it might be a sign, there's the word, might be a sign that people are not being inventive and creative with this incredible challenge. You know, just let's kick back and see how many shots of tequila and vodka can I have.
Well, Dr. Taylor, always great to chat with you. And yes, I want to do a segment, at least a segment, on those desserts you can have when you can leave the table and not feel guilty about the whole thing. That would be great.
Okay.
That would
right.
be terrific. And we'll
Maybe
do
a
that.
half segment on that, and then a half segment on preventing allergies. We're getting into allergy season.
That's true. Very true.
With all the people under stress mentally, then my concern is people are going to be even more symptomatic by the pollen in the trees as we get into that. So I'll leave that up to you as to how you want to work
no
the
question.
time.
No,
I
we'll split
always
it.
look forward to speaking to you. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it is our pleasure, Dr. Barry Taylor, and again, the book is Love Your Body, Your Path to Transformation, Health, and Healing. Probably need it now more than ever before. And Dr. Taylor, thank you so much once again, and we will chat soon.
God bless. Have a good one. Best to Jason. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Thanks for having me on.
Very good. Dr. Barry
Bye.
Taylor,